Welcome everyone to our closing evening of the celebration of Black Girlhood and Womanhood. We have some amazing poets tonight, and I'm just so excited about what we've been able to bring to Brattleboro as far as programming for this weekend. It's been a real blast and a real honor. So thank you for being here and enjoy.
So my name is Jordan Mendez. My backpack. And I was invited here by Shanta after we performed together for Black contemporary women poets, I believe. Can everyone hear me okay? So I'm really excited to be here. I've been writing poetry ever since they did that unit, in kindergarten, where you write about the snow and the leaves crunching and everything. I was like, what is this beautiful thing? So, me and poetry have been together for a while. I want to start with this poem called Afro-Latinx. Silky, curly, soft, thick, unique, long. Good hair. I hear you used to have good hair. Why'd you decide to get these trash thoughts? I almost didn't. I was proud. Ignorant and proud to wear a crown of fluffy curls and waves atop my head. Hot comb or flat iron down my back. Loose sleep to keep it just right. People need to see what black hair can be. What are you, they'd ask? What are you? Ignorant and proud. You looked more Latina before. Before I locked my hair. Como mis ancestros antes que yo, I looked more like mis ancestros antes que yo. Que me hicieron? The ones that get praised and fed, the half of me that gets brought to bed. My grandparents' first language is Spanish. If I want to love on my cousins, I need to speak Spanish. They are black like me. Because land is never lacking in love. I am made in Jamaica, Spain, Congolese, West Africa. Stringed instruments, heart-hugging drums, dark liquor, dance, reggaeton, rum. I am chicken stew, sancocho, gumbo, fruitcake, and sopa borracha. Can I trust you to honor the flavors stuck underneath my fingernails? You celebrate apapuris de yuca, pasteles y tamales, but not chihuahua. You sing the Orisha song, disrespect this and that. Hang a rosary, leave out water, stomp on my hand, crush my PC. I am black. I am blacker by way of Panama. I am Afro-Latinx. And how can I trust white Latinx? How weaponize the color of your eyes? Blue, you is the sky, más íntimo del cielo, how heavenly. Green eyes like the palm celebrated and acclaimed, like the sunshine and the dew. Afro-Latinx, deep brown like the roots, like the soil. Sweet and still too slave for kisses in the light, not enough caballero. They said sexless before our irresistibility revealed by fertility, my skin as nuestros abuelos disrupting the pillage of their bodies. The might of my mother's mother in the ground is the ground. You do not respect your roots. You do not respect me. Colonialism did a number on us all, down to the last. My beautiful amiga Dominicana, luscious dark hair, thick and healthy like her body, eyes deep as the ocean, so deep all color is swallowed alive, and skin like toasted almond or honey-stained mahogany, relentlessly picking herself apart. Envious of you, well, I am envious of her. She says her cousins have the good genes. I say she has the good features. Well, what does that make me? It's not easy to love all of this in this world, but I do. I decided to lock my hair, como mis ancestros antes que yo, because they told me, don't worry about trusting them. Can you trust you? Kind of in that same vein, this is a poem that I wrote on one of those beautiful nights where you're like, wow, look at the moon. And I thought about how lonely the moon must get sometimes with everyone always staring at her. And so I wrote this poem called The Moon is a Black Girl. The moon is black girl. Admired when she is full, desired even when she a sliver of silver, reflection sought after, soft edges that spill between fingers and eyelashes, yet fights her dark side unloved. A book of rhymes untouched, a beautiful mind unrequited. Celebrate me now before you see my unless. Only under your gaze I exist, sometimes wholly visible, indivisible to you who see my every face. Invisible when my darkness falls and fails to thrill you. The moon is a black girl. No one looks an eclipse straight in the eye. The moon is a black girl moshing at a concert, crying in the rain, a cursed thorn stroke cold, delicate petals fall away you have never seen. The moon is a black girl's song stuck in her head, over and over she goes, notes hanging in sky, falling nowhere as if deaf ears would have her anyway. But light travels and so her image though. The moon is a black girl, wrapping arms around herself as the world watches. What will she do next? And I think I have time for two more. I would love to do this poem. It's so fun to me. This is another poem that I think a lot of people who write can relate to. When you're seeing something and you just want to give it all of the life that you're feeling. So you're like, I have to write this down somewhere. I need to capture this beautiful moment. So I'm sitting on my back porch just watching my neighborhood be my neighborhood. And it's called Block is Hot. There's a man looking for his dog. The dog he walked out of the house with. The dog is rooting around in the dirt of the parking lot. Chiquita, Chiquita, he calls to her. And all of a sudden the whole hood is yelling. Chiquita, he calls. Vete para allá, someone yells. Nah, it wasn't even all that. Someone yells. Chiquita. A baby starts meowing. Hello, hello, louder, hello. The hood is up. The hood is out. Just a little while. The energy is buzzing. Do we feel the man's pain? Where's Chiquita? Are we all looking for his dog? Chiquita. Hello. There are like 3 people whistling in a 2-block radius, and one sounds like a tropical bird calling for the cluck of it all. Bikes crash to the ground. Hey, a man says to a baby. The baby chuckles. And all of a sudden, the whole hood is laughing. 2 men on the back porch, I guess it really was even all that. A woman's roar tumbles out of a window, lands on the sidewalk like a kickball in a puddle. 2 kids strolling through get splashed, and now they're laughing too. Chiquita! Are we all happy to see her? Are we all happy Dad is home from work? The whole hood is here. We are up, we are out, we are up, we are here. When it rains on you, baby, it rains on me. When you smile, I feel the sun too. The hood is a rhythm, a block hot, charged up, carrying the power of the sun. Like Black Panther suit, when pressure is applied, we feel that. We feel that hit too. The block is the malcolm of hot steel, heels digging in and laughing children. The block is a song in stereo, is a babe dancing in vitro, is a mother eating for 2, is paved and unpaved roads that carry all of our woes and sing them back to us on thick and rainy days when our apartments seem to float. Is a man with Lucy's and a boy with candy. When you thrive, we thrive. When you die, we die. When you leave, we notice. When you back, we say, oh look, dude with the busted Honda is here. Yes, will you please play your speaker louder because that's my jam. And though the block is hot with grief and disappointment, has our son's blood stewing, thoughts of clout chasing and retaliation, it is a beautiful place. I've been to the manicured lawns and elite white spaces, felt the weight of phantom eyes peering from high up window panes, swallowed plastic pills and suffered grins tight with suspicion. They don't want to taste your spicy jerk. They don't want to smell your loud. They don't want to hear your child singing. They don't want to feel the rumble of your bass or watch your grandmother turn 90. This rattles them. The livelihood of it all. The out in the open, raw and unfiltered, authentic and brave lives we live, the deep-set flavors of our stew, our dance, the volatile nature of our fights, the ancestor song of our hoods and villages. The block is hot, and yes, at times it's a lot to handle. But a lot to handle like a car with swift acceleration. Like earrings heavy with too much gold. like too much gravy on curry goat and rice, like extra hot sauce, extra white sauce, like walking to the Lime lady in 98-degree heat, like being loved on your birthday, like apologizing to your daughter, like crying in front of your son, like a hug when you need it most that breaks you, but holds you up as you crumble. The block is hot like the sun, sizzling and popping, and we are all firebenders, fire breathers, trailblazing along, keeping cards close to our chest, and all playing from the same deck. Chiquita, we shout. Elo, we whine. It is time at a time on your porch, watching the lost dog trail behind her owner. The exhausted mother drive groceries and a baby. Two boys practice manhood rights, watching the hood unravel and weave itself back together, waiting for the rain. Okay, so I have one more and then a little short that I want to close out with in honor of my ancestors. And with that in mind, this is called I Am Not a Thing to Be Heard. It's inspired by the stylings of Gil Scott Heron, who's actually one of my favorite all-time poets in the world. It's for Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, Mary Turner, and it's from my heart. I am not a thing to be hurt. Not a worm in the dirt, not a swift buzzard fly, not a bottle. I'm not a thing to be worked. Corkscrew or red brick, luxurious poached fur or person on last dollar. I am not none of that there, though to be good and fair, those are things not deserved to be hurt either. I'm not a crab in a barrel, not an egg scrambled or boiled, not rotten or refuse. You're just used to having things stuck in the corner of your eye. You confuse black lives for your father's ghosts and the ghosts of your father. The point of a pin, a thin hair's moment when you collide into my picture, painting targets where thoughts once were rooted. I am not a goat or an anchor, not brown countries or stock markets reaping off their sweat, not a skinning knife or gold jewelry, not a badge on taxi or murderer, just a sweet living thing, trying to get over, caught in the corner of your eye. I'm not an addict, not slut or unlearned, not an immigrant worker or kidnapped child, that is to say none of us, not a single one of us deserve to be killed to feed rat, bull, or reptile. We are not none of that there, none of that there, none of those childhood toys or field games, not your twisted, vicious, coming-of-age postcard scented, teeming with pride coming off the backs of dead men, not your deep-seated guilt-lit quiver and quip all that pomp and circumstance, your tears and actionless hair on this plastic wrap and magnifying glass, weak, see-through, incriminating. We see you self-serve to trauma fantasies, clinging hard on computer keys as you watch me die from half-drawn curtains. No, we are none of those things. Not a nut or a screw or a mirror for you, not a mirror for your car or your soul. We are not dead pet, seeds, or a dream that you have the right to keep burying us. We are not your problem. We are not a problem, and never in need of correction. Not an undisciplined child or animal in the wild, not a thing to be hurt at all. I am a being, a person, a black woman with breath, wondering why, how came your list of things to be hurt was so damn long, how it existed to be so tall, how long it would take for you to see your name when our list would throw up a fire on broken and crumbling palace walls. Okay, I always like to end on a positive note because life is hard, but it's really beautiful too. This was a wonderful reminder of that. Anybody who practices ancestor reference might know that sometimes when they have something to say, tell you, that they'll show up in your dreams and just gather you up. So this is called How the Aunties Show Up in Dreams to Snatch You Up. One thing I've learned is you cannot outrun your path, and you cannot turn around. When flies begin to land on your altar for the 5th time when you mention his name, or that job, or when you're eating that food, or talking down on yourself, and you still lie down, make yourself small, curl into the nook of self-sabotage for another night of sleepless rest. You better leave out sweet brown bread and butterscotch candy for the auntie that is coming expeditiously to snatch you up. In ankle-length purple tunic dress adorned with shimmer and shine, her eyes act as deep pools to look at yourself. Why are you making them more important than you? She sways through the deep black web of dreamscape, smooth like a brown stallion horse with skates on, you know? Deep brown hair, deep brown skin, deep purple energy that came out the gate swinging. I know you're not playing with my niece. I know you're not sleeping on yourself. I know you're not ignoring signs and affirmations, avoiding your greatness and elevation. I know you are my love. I know you are my heart. I know you are my feet on the ground that holds my body in cool earth. I know you are the body of my body, the spirit of my efforts, the way I live on. I know you're not sleeping on us. She comes with rosary beads in hand, smelling of fresh powder mingled with ginate. Count yourself blessed and highly favored to be snatched up by an auntie with such regard and hope and Caribbean dipped tongue languishing your fear with sweet words wrapped in spicy tones, giving more than opportunity, more than love, more than abundance, giving chicken bone to stew, giving life back to living, giving you back to you. Giving is in receiving what is given, she says. When aunties come with perfumed hands and gold teeth shining, you've got no choice but to wake up, walk in your power. This morning, you wake up smiling.
Hello, everyone. I am Lady Abstract, and I'm originally from Chicago, but I live in Connecticut, and I will be presenting some work that I've written about Anne Plato. I'm kind of dressed like her age, my 19th century garb. She is, and historical figure. She's the first African American and Indigenous American woman to write a full-fledged manuscript. And she's the first woman who is Black and Indigenous to attend Trinity College, my alma mater in Hartford, in 1841. So I'm telling her story, and I'm going to start with one of my pieces, which kind of made me famous in Hartford. It's called New York by Way of Chicago. I sit in the window, I sit in the window, I sit in my room. The light is dim in my room. New York's horizon is a cloudy one, and I'm singing the blues. I want to be the lady singing in the window where everyone can see me. They see my lips form into words, but they can't hear me. I don't want you to hear me. The lady singing. Clouds are misty and the rain sweeps down the window, and I cry and sing, and I cry and sing, and I cry and sing, and my heart is beating the beat that my tears make rhythm them too. I'm the lady singing in the window, singing of old gray friends, and the wind chilling my skin. I mumble a song in my ear, so that I can hear. I don't want you to hear me. All I want you to do is watch me from the window and wonder. I'm the lady singing in the window. I'm singing jazz on the bus. I feel Billie Holiday in my fingertips. Elvis Duran in my face. Zora Hurston all over me. In the window I see. No, I'm not fond with my voice. I thought that Chicago was like it, but no. So now I sit and I listen to the rain and sing. My voice is made of cloud. My voice is made of classicness and quietness that is loud. I'm the lady singing in the window, singing the blues, jazz, jazzy, razzy, jazzy lady, singing in the window. Chicago is where I am from. Chicago is where I feel the beat. From the radio, I flow the radio go, I flow the radio go. And Chicago is in my veins, pumping up my heart, and I just feel like Michigan, and the radio is breaking, popping, locking, and I'm over with the flow of the radio. I have no brother. I have no brother, for he died when I was really young, but still his memory round my heart like morning mist has come. They tell me of his infant form with whom I often played on useful thoughts had weighed the image of my Henry dear. A sister has wept below. Art thou in Christ, the sinner's friend? Dost thou of heaven then know, my young companion in the dust, my morning friend, the youthful one, I loved at first, the last, or whom I bred, but soon that little flower must rise. Its light must rise. Its light must then be known. Lo, this in spirit saw the sky, the sister born down. Short like time, some transient date, they drink the morning breath, yet, my brother, thou in sleep, thy spirit sink in death, brother, thou wast my only one, beloved from childhood years, a sweet companion of my youth, how doleful it appears. Alas, he died, O grief restrained, the silent anguish of the mind intrinsic love, these lines to prompt, revive my spirits, be resigned. Tri et toi, tri et toi. My soul has not rested. My teeth never smiled, thrashed their bone. My body buried deep underneath my skin. Can you feel it? My soul rocking in the cradle. Let the baby live. I hear him crying at the noon hour. No soul should wait like mine in line. My feet never grace the ground of heaven. The devil has told the truth indeed. The demons roam this place freely. Where art thou, O Lord? Why have you told the devil your secrets? For the sad ones come roaming through my spirit. For the sad ones come roaming through my hair. For the sad ones come roaming and they must be killed. Say peace, say peace. love I sing for my bosom? Do you know of my dress that dances underneath the moon? Do you know that now I lay beneath your nose? Do you know of the smell of sweet nutmeg? Do you know of my dress that dances in the breeze like the trees? Have you seen my brown eyes? The breeze, they say, keeps the souls alive, yet I'm dead. For the souls come roaming through my spirit, for the souls come roaming through my hair, for the souls come roaming and it must be killed. Say peace, Jadine, say peace. I sing for the Lord, for he is mine. I sing for the Lord, for he is mine. I live for my heart, for it needs to bleed. I wait for the moon to smile upon me. I listen to the fleeting river. I smell the last ship of 1760. Gather its cargo and take it home. And I remember that I am the cargo. Do you know how happy I am? For I know of the spells that live in the elms. Robin sings in unison with Raven forever. Say peace, Jadine, say peace. I guess I'll give y'all another one. It's called Who Done It? So y'all the first ones to hear this one. It's exclusive. Which way we go? Who done it? Escape this flow? Who done it? The mighty power of the Lord? Who done it? Wave the flag, 'tis the day America remembers a fallen soldier. Who done it? Dear Miss P, can you tell me who done it? Is it the Lord thy God, the one, the Most High Christ, whom left his secrets alone, buried underneath brick, red, yellow, now, drinking the sun anew, and blood so fresh from Christ's chest, his heart great with sorrow much? Who done it? Please answer me. So, I was able to write a whole show manuscript thing about theater thing about Anne Plato to tell her story. Because I feel people need to know her story, and I look forward to one day, like giving her a plaque or giving her a headstone, because she deserves to be honored. So, thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming out. I'm Chantal Weekander, and I'm digging on this right now. I just found there's a baptism pool right under my feet, not filled, but very cool. So I am a writer and a photographer, artist across so many disciplines. I'm going to wade into ghetto claustrophobia. I'm going to start with some prose from my memoir, not out yet, How to Train a Trickster in Other Tales from Girlhood. It deals with some of the same themes in ghetto claustrophobia. Chapter 1, Mama walked backwards. The night I came, Mama said she was walking to the hospital in the wrong direction when her water broke. When her water broke, she tried to wake Papa, but he didn't wake. So she started walking while I was on my way on October 23rd, 1978, or it could have been October 22nd, 1978. As the story is told, it feels like it explained everything. Mama forever walking backward from the hospital to give birth, leaving a trail of dysfunction from the bed to some random street in Hartford while she searched for the hospital.
Papa didn't wake, but he woke eventually. Or at least this is what we guess. We guess that eventually Papa got up. We guess that we all went home together after I was born. See, it made sense that Mama walked in the wrong direction even while trying to birth. From that point on, time was something else. The spaces between girl, woman, yesterday, today, somebody's tomorrow, they are always together in this place. So here's the chapter on my hair. Different characters, including my fingers and my hair follicles speaking. Like a kitchen or food, not every pair of hands can have access. It was a chant that we just knew that needed no explanation. There are the hands that can take it out and the hands that can grow it. No need to know ahead of time whose hands can do what. You just know. We all whisper about it. It's not restriction, but a lullaby of sameness. We know that when others say it around us, that us not crazy for hearing the same message, not all hands. Well, you get it. We don't know what kind we are, except maybe we are the kind that can grow it. We never took Kim's hair out, playing in it. I don't remember what exactly we did, but I remember how it felt to be the first one to do her hair. I was in my 20s, and I remember her name as being quite different as she was. Yet she picked me to be the one to do it. We lived in the same apartment building. She stopped me one day at Trinity College. I worked on campus. In those days, it was a question that came often. Excuse me, do you do hair? A question that 20 years later, in a mostly white state, will become, who did your hair? What's the number? When she came to my apartment that day, the oversized windows gave us both an uninterrupted view of Trinity College Chapel. The sun bathed the hardwood floors in her bodies as she sat in the chair. A variation from the ways I knew that hairstyles happened while sitting on the floor between someone's legs. Grown men seem to still do it, but as women, well, we elevated to chairs, or one in a chair, or one sitting in a stool that was several inches higher. Hers was the kind of hair that reminded me of my longing when I was a little girl. It was thick, it swung. It was well past her shoulders. As I used the wingtip comb to part it, my hands were triggered. At this moment, if my hands were my tongue, they'd be drenched in saliva. They, my hands, were reminded of how nice it felt to play in Kim's hair. I fought my renewed hunger to stroke her hair and let it fall between my hands with the body that it had as she broke silence. You feel warmer, cozier. You feel like the South. You sure you're not from the South? That day, I did not know how to say that South was stitching my blood. In those days, I only knew how to claim the North. Somehow, on that day, saying North was better than saying South. White magnolias, weeping willows, and witness trees started slow and blown full out her throat, and she said, "This is the first time I've let anyone touch my hair. I was raised but never let anyone touch my hair. There was something in the way the South sprouted, reminded me of my great aunts and uncles, in the way I couldn't be." I'll stop there. And I'll go to Now I'm going to read from Ghetto Claustrophobia. Forgotten tastes like cheese sour to the tongue while visiting mother. Here, you banish sins of the day, banish what couldn't find its way into the pot, the rot in the corner, a veiled stench, and another there you be balm, self. You be sanctified, a part of how good got right, how right got us forgot how to get right. The closest we come feels kind of like the voices that reaches in and makes me jump. Not that kind of jump. The one hid in ink blue, red doors. The one where the pulpit pimps be saying, you gotta be ready when he comes rolling up in the chariot, for when he comes, you ain't got time to be fussy. He be the boy in that other place causing her fuss. Maybe he be like sheep after time. He be the boy from the plays they wouldn't speak about. Both of them letting the world think that theirs been told its kind of truth. It was a kin's kind of truth. Tastes like braille built upon bodies, white spaces, ellipses, dashes. Honey, they don't teach that kind of code. The code wasn't in a book. Branches so tangled, tongues can't speak it. But mama's mama claps back from forgotten. Mama's mama standing at the edge of my bed. She's followed the yellow traces of calendula to my pillow, reached for my throat, hers filled with daggers, disturbance, and time, saying, girl, you didn't ask. This is from the middle of the book, which is a dream interlude, breaking up the book. I like to treat writing like choreography because I also have belly dance. And I think of the page as a stage and how to give eyes rest and movement. And so this is kind of dealing with the theme of God's thermostats. Biggie wanted one more chance while Foxy Brown was hoping that someone would take her home tonight. And Spike Lee's Ice Cube on Rosie's breast in that movie imprinted like those lyrics. We all wish we had that ice cube, except our hop didn't look that cool. Heat turned bubblegum to lava that never let go of the bottom of our shoes, a reminder that God's thermostat was broke. When God's thermostat is broken, find other ways to keep busy. Keep away from strangers. Keep away from the places where you don't belong. Something about the way the heat brings about the war that would never cross your mind. Also, you're not supposed to talk to strangers, let alone pick them up in your car. Well, unless you know them. Even if you know them, you don't pick them up on a summer night. But isn't it safe if your friends are in the car? Wade was walking along the side of the road. Wade had to stay off and on at that place where everyone knows there are secret tunnels and where they kept patients. You know Wade. He was always on the corner. He'll freestyle a poem. He was always on the corner and he'll say something witty to draw you in. And those eyes. His eyes are a kind of brown-green color, not noticeable enough to make him handsome. It wasn't just his words that made you know where he'd been and where he was going again. You just knew looking into his eyes. The kind of eyes that made you peer in. The kind of eyes that spoke his crazy right into you as he talked. Speaking of crazy, sometimes boredom has a way about it. The kind of saunter like it's twin trouble. They both show up when it's hot. See, trudging through the snow or trying not to fall on ice don't work well for these two. Trouble and boredom manifested in a dew, the color of one of the early spring flowers, the color of forsythia. No government name, but a one-word, two-syllable street name. He was straight out of the Newport Pleasures ad. A cat with a slick look. What he bloomed, we didn't want. But like forsythia, he appeared on time and within his season. He made us pay attention to the way day ate night, the way night ate children who had to succumb to the endless ride in the purple Cadillac. He made us pay attention to what happened when mamas felt the heat of the broken thermostat when their husbands are at work, the ghetto version of the bar hop. He taught us that people like houses are interchangeable. He taught us the endless tap in the bar hop intoxicated cars, some like the ones that had too many hunch punches. And when the Cars stumble in the heat. They hit telephone poles. I think I will end with this one. That day, that little girl on Harold Street in a tan scarf turned halter against a pre-developed frame with wings, bringing the sound of beats into her own ears, is not thinking about God's thermostat. For her, it's not broken. She wonders if this is how he will always feel. To bare feet or skin, wonders if they all could continue like this. If this is God's thermostat broken personified with forever day with their voices echoing into the womb of summer, then fuck it. This is one broken thing that needs no fixing. Thank you. So we're gonna have the Q&A section now. And I'm gonna invite Amina and Lady Abstract. I guess should we just sit on the edge of the stage? Yeah. Okay.
And we have copies of Chantal's new book available to have pictures up here. So does anyone have any questions they would like to ask the artist? I can come to you. Actually, maybe can you come over here? Sorry.
I can come to you with my camera.
Actually, this one.
Yeah.
Excellent.
This is a question for Amina, I think. I noticed in the publicity for this that you live in Holyoke, is that correct?
Yes.
Which is where I was born, and still have cousins who live there. So I was just sort of curious, do you ever get inspiration from Holyoke? It's had an interesting history, and I won't be judgmental about your answer, just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, we're accessible. Sorry. Yeah, that's a lovely question. I definitely do get a lot of inspiration from Holyoke. The Block is Hot poem that I wrote was on my back porch in Holyoke. I've been living there for about 7-8 years now. But I think what's also really interesting about Holyoke is how there's a literal, like physical representation of the class difference. There's the highlands, where the top of the hill, all these big, beautiful houses, and then there's the flats, where all of the lower income people live, and their streets aren't as good, and it's not as well taken care of, and it's very much a food desert, whereas you go up here, you can get to a grocery store, not too bad, you go down there, it's just bodegas and everything. Bodegas are beautiful, but they don't really feed you that well. So I'm very inspired by Holyoke physically, culturally, and it's little Puerto Rico, so there's so much cultural exchange happening all the time. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any?
Can we ask each other questions Yeah. Flip it. I have a question. If you want, for both. I'm sorry, I'm getting all tangled. So Lady Abstract, you've talked about being inspired by Anne Plato's Ghost. And Amina, I'm curious. I'm curious about the experiences of, or the inspiration coming from the supernatural. Can either of you talk about it?
Well, yes, I've seen Anne Plato's Ghost in 2009. I saw it my freshman year of college at Trinity College. And I saw her once and didn't see her again until 2019, 10 years later, when I found her original manuscript in the basement of Trinity College's Wadsworth library. So yeah, it was collecting dust. and have been there since 1841. The whole story around her ghost and me seeing her ghost, like it's been scary. In a good way and a bad way. It's been terrifying. Like me getting this outfit was all in. She came to me in a dream and was like, you need to wear the pearls, you need to wear the stone, you need to be in all black today. Yeah, it's I've been a medium since I was a child, since I was 6. But seeing Anne Plato freaked me out because no one really knows her story, knows who she is in Connecticut.
Like Easter.
Yeah. So, and she's a very pivotal, she's important. Like, if it wasn't for her, there'd be no me as far as me writing, being a poet and an educator, and a godly woman. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey that I plan on continuing. I hope y'all can see this on PBS one day. Yeah, because I'm working on that.
I love this question as well. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways I resonate with that. My mom had a younger sister who passed away when she was about 30, and I was like 7. So obviously I remember my aunt, I loved my aunt. She was a poet herself. And they used to always joke that like I was her little carbon copy, and like I look like my mom, but I look like my aunt. You know, I look like my aunt, you look like Tia, you look like Tia. And after she passed, we were cleaning out her room and everything like that, and I found these books and books and books and books of poetry and chapbooks and all these little scribbles of poems all over her room. And I was like, why did y'all not tell me? You've been hiding this from me. Like, I do this, you know? Like, I have these scribbles and books and all these things all piled up in my room. And it has ever since felt like something that connected me to her well through her passing. Like, I feel like I almost know her better dead than I knew her alive. Through my writing and my exploration of like my personality being so similar to her. And then I also think that just in general, like when you're an artist, it's a spiritual experience, you know, we were actually just talking about this, a lot of the stuff you don't create alone. You don't create it alone. There have been times where I read something, I'm like, when did I write that? You know, it's like, it didn't speak. So I think it's just like being an artist is also the act of surrendering to just like whatever is coming out of the universe at the time.
I would have to say my relationship comes through my dreams. My husband is plagued with me saying, I had a dream last night. And going on to talk about the people I've met, who I talked to, or things that happened, and remembering it very vividly. And it's funny because there's the poem about that ended with Girl, You Didn't Ask. So when my great aunt died in 2019, one of my other aunts had said, she died of a lot of secrets. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to know. I need to know this little tea that, you know, Auntie Mary took with her. And I was trying to meet her and my great grandmother in my dream. It didn't quite work out very well. And I like woke up choking, like literally choking. And I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. Not happening in that way. So it comes in different, you know, through different things. Definitely, I agree with both of you. Say like it being either called, or and you go with it, or you know, it being a spiritual experience of creating, where you just go with it, right? You become the receptacle almost, right? Do we have any questions from the audience?
I'd just like to know, do you ladies have books also?
Books.
Well, I have a book that's coming out in October. I've been sitting on this book since 2012. It started out as a poem and became a book. It's called The Laughing Elephant Book of Spells, Volume 1.
Yes.
Because I have a whole series of the book. It's different from my Anne Plato. It's completely different from Anne Plato. Yeah, I don't know how I'm doing this. I just turned in my draft right before I came here. Like, I turned it in before I came to Vermont to do this on Friday, so yeah, it's happening.
I love how each different stage of bookness is how we're sitting. So we know Shanta just came out with the book, right? Obviously. We actually came out with the book in October,
Yes.
and then me coming out with the book in my mind. No, I'm definitely working on it. I was actually much more of a performance poet for a while, so I'm in this process where I'm still getting comfortable with the page speaking for me. So it's been very exciting. It's been very fun, but I definitely want to give y'all a book very soon. So it's gonna help. So. I know, yeah. People ask for books. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Well, also too, thinking about, can everybody hear me? If I project. Also thinking about the whole idea of different kinds of texts, because I'm actually, what strikes me from Friday night to now is the different modes of poetry and how engaged. Both of you have slam. Both of you are spoken word. I would never dare say I'm spoken word. I would say I'm still trying to find my way to claim being storyteller. I still have a hard time finding myself an artist, even though I claim it, but still. And so, for a long time, I didn't even read my poetry in public because I'm not a slammer.
Yeah.
And so, and LN, who was here on Friday, nothing's written. Nothing is friggin' written down. And I'm just like, whoa. Oh, yeah. Ellen doesn't write anything down. And people get on her like all the time, but in a good way. I think she's Vicky's mom, yeah, Vicky was like that too. There are so many rappers like that too, but it's like, to me, like, it goes to this very deep tradition of morality and the oral. And like, somebody was telling me this story, I forget who, where somebody met someone on a plane from Africa, and they were like, we had, let me tell you the story, like the original, like not the Lion King, not the Disney. Mm-hmm. And as they were getting off, they said, okay, well, let me know when you have time, I'll complete the story. I think it was something like 60 hours long. Like, really going, something that had been transferred. And I've talked to other people about this, like going beyond text, and I'm very visual. I'm a photographer as well, and I like looking at images as a version of text and all the body as text. And so that's just fascinating. Any other questions or?
I'd just like to say thank you, ladies. I'm just very happy that I got to experience you guys today. And each of you gave me something. Yeah, I fully understood about the hair. And I fully understood about starting the dreads. I fully understood all of that. I understood about the history you were bringing to us to let us know about Anfield. So I just want to say that I appreciate each and every one of the styles, each of everything that each of you had to say to us. And I got a good message loud and clear from all of you. So
thank you so much. Thank you for that.
And I want to say a huge thank you to Epsilon Spires. We've been talking about this for 5 months, and I think people know Ruth, Antidote, huge shout out, thank you to Antidote. Antidote gave me a stage, but I didn't have a book. Stage, they are curators of culture along with Epsilon Spires in this region, and I would say they invite people across the board, they're borderless and how they curate. And what I appreciate is the limitless, like no ceiling, of doing this. And so this vision of having people from all around New England to join me that was the special treat for me. And so huge thank you to you both, and huge thank you to Ellen, who's not here, but was here on Friday. And yeah, hopefully we'll be doing more of this. Like wink, nod, Jamie. So to bring people together across New England in this way. I mean, we're missing Rhode Island and Maine. Much love to all the states. We're coming for you. But yeah, very. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, that's the beauty of Brattleboro. I like how people just come in and then leave out, scatter, and come back. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time on this early evening to be with us. Yeah. Thank you. Any last words? Thank you.
Yeah. I have a question.
Oh.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
So, I mean, coming into speaking and speaking truth, you know, through this kind of space after a pandemic, I'm wondering how, I mean, it changes space in a different way, and it changes communication in a different way. And I'm wondering how, as you're performing again, mask-free, in community, how is that, has it changed? Has it changed how you're approaching, you know, your art and your craft?
Is that for all of us or
Everyone, yes.
you want to start with that? You start with that.
So at the beginning, they were like, shut it down. I was like, yes, because I'm an introvert. And I was like, this is my time to shine. But, I think we all very quickly learned that there's a difference between solitude, introversion, and isolation. So creating in isolation was a very uniquely beautiful and painful experience. I think that, you know, like when inspiration strikes, you can be a community, you can be alone, it is what it is, but you know that you kind of have a community, you're like, oh, let me share this with you, let me read this to you, and not really being able to do that in real time was definitely like, it made the poetry a little heavy, it had this little kind of like tinge to it. So I would say that now performing that type of poetry does feel different. I'll usually I'll feel the feelings that I had when I wrote a poem, when I perform it. So now, those feelings are very much more heavy and much more intimate because we're in such isolation, you know? What I also think is interesting is that you know that the audience also had that experience too. Like, you know, everyone's kind of in this really vulnerable, tender, like so happy to see you, but still scared to hug, but really want to touch, but also thinking about it, really ready, and you know, and you're all kind of like swimming in this really ambiguous space that's also filled with art. So I don't think it's good or bad, but I think that it's a very human experience to see something that was so like culturally just relevant, it was just for everybody, flipped on its head. You know, we're all experiencing art differently now.
Considering the fact that I am a truth teller in my poetry, what I found interesting during the pandemic in Connecticut is that people started to realize that they need quality over quantity. I've been living in Hartford, and I know this is recorded. I don't care. I said it. I've been living in Connecticut for 12 years. August will make it officially 12. I come from the city, Chicago, West Side, all day. I come from the land of spoken word poetry. I come from a city that is vibrant in that space. Living in Connecticut, it's been difficult, but as an artist in New England, so I appreciate you for this. So I really do, because we're here. Black artists exist in New England, y'all. And I have been living in Connecticut for 12 years. I've been blackballed while living in Connecticut. for 12 years because people don't like my work. People think I'm too honest, I'm too brash, or I'm too in-the-face, or I'm actually good at what I do. No offense to the Connecticut artists that I've seen out there in the streets, but like they keep seeing the same surface, superficial art, and not letting the artists that do perform actually dig deep. And people were afraid to do that. The pandemic forced us to stop being afraid of that.
Yes.
We're afraid of a virus now. I know I'm preaching in the church. We're afraid of the virus now. Now we need something that gives us life, pun intended. As soon as the pandemic hit, I was like, yay, I'm excited, because I'm an introvert as well. And I dig deep into my dark soul. That's how I like my coffee, black is my soul. And then I started getting all these invites. Lady Abstract, Dr. J, I'm doing it. Lady Abstract, Dr. J, we need you to do this. Can you do this poetry thing? I'm like, wait, what? All these theaters that exist in downtown Hartford that said no to me constantly. I would audition to be in plays. It was no. And I went to Trinity for theater and dance. For them to keep telling me no. Now y'all want me?
Right.
Now you want to do this work?
Now you recognize medicine. Oh.
I know, I see. So, and that's how I will Ann play those projects. I didn't think it would even be a thing. I didn't think I could do anything with Ann play because I was like, she's such a mystery. I'm gonna make it quick. So, I wrote the poems that I presented to you about her in one setting. It was like I was possessed. I promise you, I think I was. And I stood at my kitchen counter and just was like, started typing. Normally I long, right? But this one I just typed. And then I was done and I was just like, where am I? Who sent me? So with the pandemic also short, I was able to dig deeper and realize that what I'm doing has been right all along. And that quality gets through anyway. So.
I think my answer about the pandemic too is very unpopular. So before the pandemic, I was finishing up grad school. I, have an MBA, went back for an MFA, and things were still due. I still needed my time. I also found that I needed, and I love the landscape of Vermont. I think the Vermont landscape is gorgeous. I'm originally from Connecticut, born in Hartford, raised in Hartford. And there is something about needing a break from a certain kind of racism, and which racism draws everywhere, right? We're not unique, but it's a certain kind of brand of progressive racism that blooms here. And I needed a break from it. I have introverted tendencies, so I was very happy. I was afraid for when the world was going to flood back in. I do curate community, and I always have, so that wasn't going to change. Like, I always was careful about who was going to be in my garden. What I found interesting too is how interesting that people discovered that other people could be dangerous because of the virus. And then remembering all the ways what my parents were trying to teach me about the intersections of the Black body in certain spaces. And so I read a piece that was published in the NAACP, their national site, about space and Black bodies and what Black and brown bodies always know about space, how unsafe they are. They always were unsafe and harmful. And what was interesting to me was the interplay between there's the pandemic of the virus, and then there was also the pandemic of, which is still happening, of racism. And so the intersections and the interweavings of that, and remembering, like, it really put me back into the memory of, wait a minute, I always knew the space was unsafe. I always knew that, I'm a motorcycle rider. You know, I did not really ride my motorcycle last year. I'm not trying to have somebody run me down off the road. You know, seeing, you know, someone go around with a Trump flag with their truck, you know, and so things like that. And so there's a way where it's like, it reminded me to be careful with people in the way that my parents tried to teach me. And I'm still wary and still, so there's something very interesting about it. I don't like how we're now all, because people can't do a modulation in between. It's like a flood. So I'm still trying to curate how to be solitary in the middle of a book launch. Doesn't match. Doesn't match. And it looks like I'm gonna be doing this for a while, which is thankfully, I'm thankful. Even as I invite people to my art exhibition for next month, it's just like, I'm a hypocrite, right? But it's just like, it's challenging. And I think it's, you know, I think it's challenging for all of us. I mean, there's something also sickening and upsetting too, that everybody suddenly feels like we're in the same boat. And I'm not gonna go down that road, I'll save it, but it's just like, how did you not know that there were so many people hurting? Or, oh, all of a sudden we're gonna house people. Okay. I'm still hoping that we get some key lessons. We're still in a pandemic. We'd be very bad global citizens if we forget that. We're bad global citizens. We're still very much, the rest of the world is still very much in a pandemic. And Delta's coming. And I don't mean the airline, right? But so it's like, let's be mindful of that. But also, I'm just stupidly hoping, and I don't really hope anymore, but I'm stupidly hoping that we remember some of the lessons. I don't think that's gonna happen. It's almost like the roaring 20s, party time. And it's like, okay, you know, so I'm hoping, we'll see. But that's a very interesting comment and question about the pandemic. It's a lot. It's a lot. Did you? Oh yeah.
Hi. My question is for Lady Abstract, and I'm thrilled that you're bringing Anne Plato, do I have the name right?
Yes.
Into our knowledge, bringing her back to life. Can you tell us a little bit more about her, but also tell us a little bit about your other style of work? Because mostly you've been talking about Lady Abstract, about Anne Plato.
Yes. Oh, well, there is more to Anne Plato than meets the eye. So every time I describe her quick, I say she was an educator, a godly woman, and a poet. And when I do it, I say she was an educator, an educator, godly woman, and a poet. And the reason, and when I started describing her like that, and I pulled my neck, I always thought, like, why am I doing this? Like, what does this have to do with Anne Plato? Like, does she have a fetish or something? I'm sorry, this is not sanctified talk in the church. She was a godly woman, pious, but her book of poem, like her poetry, is filled with spell work. I swear on everything is filled with that. And I honestly feel like I am her, she is me, I am her. We are one, we are conjoined. There is no living photo of her. There's no photo of her.
When did she live?
She lived in Hartford. She was born and raised in Hartford. Well, it's debatable whether she was born in Hartford and or New York. That's debatable, but Hartford, Connecticut is where she's at. She disappeared in so she was born the year that Trinity College was built, 1823. She's about to be 200 in a few years, as well as Trinity. And she was indigenous and African American. Her mother was a free woman. We don't know if she gained her freedom, bought her freedom, or she became free. We don't know how. She married an indigenous man in Hartford during a time in which the Native community and the African American community often merged with each other, and it was a relationship between those communities where it was intrinsic. No one's talking about that relationship. Everybody talks about other stuff, but anywho, I digress. Ann Plato grew up on Elm Street, Main Street. I live on Main Street now. Her house, literally where she used to live, is now a parking lot. And for her to be like, if it wasn't for her, there'd be no Zora Neale Hurston. There'd be no Toni Morrison. There'd be no me, no Alice Walker. There'd be no, there'd be no Ida B. Wells. To name a few Black women who educated, who wrote and did the things, did all the things. Ann Plato did all the things. Like, Phyllis Whitney was the first Black woman to publish a book of poetry, but Ann Plato did more than that. She did. It's a book of biographies and poetry and essays.
And then there's Lucy Terry Prince, who she's the first known African American poet, and her poems survive just over 100 years in oral tradition before being seen in print. But that's the only poem we know of by Lucy Terry Prince. She was orator, very oral storyteller. Yeah.
And I'm reading, and the thing is about Lucy is she died a few years before Ann Plato was born.
1821. This is her 200th, the bicentennial.
It's just so crazy to me how they're connected. So she disappeared in 1847, proof, and then reappeared again in 1870 in Oklahoma, and then disappeared again. I don't understand, and I'm gonna say it to the camera, for the life of me, why is it that no one thinks that she's important enough to find her at least? It's been more than 30 years between her disappearance and reappearance. I don't see how that's not a mystery. I don't see how that's not a show. I'm making it. But there is a fellowship at Trinity. I'm calling it out. There's a fellowship at Trinity College named after Ann Plato, and none of the I met a couple of the fellows. None of them knew who she was.
Yeah.
And none of them knew or cared to even look for her vision manuscript, let alone find her, find out where she died, find out what happened to her. So there's a ghost story in that, there's a mystery in that. And Ann Plato is she a force to be reckoned with. And I honestly think she was kind of witchy, which I mean, look at what she was coming on. Even though I know she was a godly woman, but I think she dabbled in the magic arts. And I know that she is me. And there's more to it. And I think I know what happened to her as far as her death. When it comes out, it's going to be very controversial because I think her disappearance happened around the same time that Connecticut ended slavery, technically, by 1848. So she disappeared right before, and she was anti-slavery, but she did a lot of work around being anti-slavery in the Caribbean. There's no record of her being loud about it in the States. I think she was loud about it in the States, but I think that part is hidden. She was James Pennington's only female pupil. And he praised her. And he's famous. Everybody knows James Pennington. He's famous. And he mentored her. Come on, y'all. Come on, New England. Come on, Connecticut. Not New England, Connecticut.
New England races. The Thoreau community, the Black community before Thoreau blackballed and that. I mean, New England erases a lot of the landscape erases across America.
Yes. And and I don't know, like when I was at Trinity, I didn't understand why it was that I felt I didn't belong because of the whole, you know, I was WASP, and a lot of my professors told me I didn't belong at Trinity. A lot of peers of mine told me I didn't belong. So I already knew that coming in that people would tell me I didn't belong here, and I believed it to a degree. And then I stopped believing it, and I was like, I belong here, but I don't know why. And I've been asking the question for years, like, why am I still in Connecticut? Ann Plato's the reason why. She told me this year. She was like, yeah, I'm the reason you here, basically. You know, tell my story. As a segue into Laughing Elephant, that is witchy. And that poem started in 2012 when I was living in Paris. I was studying abroad in Paris. And it sat as a poem for a long time. And there's a spooky kind of ghost story-ish to how it became a book in 2016. I told you the story. But yeah, that I was scared of that book. I wrote that out, like page by page, sentence by sentence, in this little journal that looks like a spell book. It's a little leather hardcover journal, moleskin that I got from Paris, and I lost it 3 times. And it found its way back to me. I lost it the first time in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, senior year of college, and then it came back to me. And then I lost it again in 2015. 2015, and I left it at one of my friend's jobs in the mall. Yeah, and I freaked out because every time I lost it, I freaked out and I was like so sad. And I was like so upset, and I thought the world was gonna end. I thought I was gonna end, and I would get suicidal. Like I was just really depressed when I lost the journal 3 times. So the second time I lost it, left it at my friend's job, she calls me like weeks later and says, Alicia, is this your book, Lady Asha? Is this your book? Is your journal? Is that mine? You know, I got it. I'm about to give it to you. And I was like, you found it. You found it. And she was like, you better be lucky I found it because this is my last week here. I just gave in my last week notice and my boss was going to throw it away. You better be lucky I found it. So I paid to give her hugs and kisses and everything when she gave it to me. And then the third time I lost it was in my apartment. It was sitting on a pile of journals with all the journals, as journals do. And one day I was looking through my journals and it was gone. I was like, how did it go? Like, where did it go? It's in my apartment somewhere. And I was depressed and sad and everything. My friends were like, Alicia, what's wrong with you? Why are you sad? You lost your journal, babe. Yeah. And then I found it and it was sitting right on top of the journals. And I was like, you know what? And I picked it up and I was like, you know what? You are a spell book. This is witchcraft. I keep losing you, not losing you, babe. And it like laughed at me. I felt like the spirit of my journal like laughing at me. And I was like, you know, I must be going crazy. But yeah, it was the laughing elephant prior to me losing it. And it became the book of spells after I lost it the 3rd time. I was like, yeah, this is the spell book. Because ain't no way I keep losing you, keep coming back. So, yeah. And that is a whole project. Like, this book, I have a show, I have like 20 dances, because I also dance. So I have 20 dancing pieces, I have costumes, everything in my head. So I don't know, it's so much.
She'll be back in Vermont.
Oh yeah, I'll be back in Vermont. I'll be back. And I love this place.
Yeah.
I love this place.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
How do you want those of us who want to hear you or watch you do that? Do you have, other than live performances, in case we're not traveling? Do you have online presences?
Yes, I am Lady Abstract Ink on Instagram, and it's elephant face for my book is the photo. You can see my video that basically is how you
Articulated it. Yeah. Which is a connection. So it's so funny. I didn't know you were. I'm a Trinity alum. You're a Trinity alum, and Jasmine Acosta, who does these amazing theater things, is a Trinity alum. And I connected with Jasmine because I wanted to do something with the Hartford Public Library, and I've long had a fantasy actually since I was really young, of going back to Hartford and saying, you two could do any damn thing you want. Don't let anybody tell you. So for years I've carried this, didn't know how. Fast forward, contact Jasmine. Wanted to talk about some different things to do. We're planning some stuff for spring 2022. And I circled back and I said, I'm looking for a poet from Connecticut. Because that's the New England thing. And she already said she was gonna put us together. And circled back. But we're Trinity alum, which is like so weird because I didn't know Trinity alums were so cool. I've never gone to a Trinity reunion, ever. No diss on Trinity. Shouts out to no diss on them because I'm actually planning an event with them this fall. I'm very excited about it.
Why
Yeah, right. So I'm teaching at Trinity. Shit, girl. And Amina, do you want to give your shout out to your website?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, so I engage a lot on Instagram actually. That's where my community really likes to watch my lives and everything. I'll read, I'll make playlists for the poetry that I'm writing. And I'm going to start a Patreon soon, and then ellipsispoetry.com. And it's ILLYPSIS.
You better say that again?
Yes. ILLYPSIS. And then Amina Jordan. It's funny.
I'm hoping I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I like to collect very interesting people, so I'm hoping that you two will be back at some point in Vermont. I'm very excited about it. And also, shout out to Harmony's Kitchen on Friday night, and shout out to Tavernier Chocolate, because Tavernier Chocolate custom made some chocolates out of my poems. And so, delicious talent all over this place. And again, thank you all for coming. I do appreciate it, and there are only more to come, right? And thank you for Epsilon Spires for being such an amazing host.
Yes.
Thank you. Right? I know you're right.
Thank you.